Hi, I'm here with Lee Young, who is considered by some as a lifetime criminal, but not by me. I'm Den Den Alexandra. I am reporting live for you today with our guest, Lee Young, who has spent much of her life behind bars in Georgia after being falsely accused, mistakenly identified, arrested for little offenses, and pulled over for very minor occurrences. I hope you're well, Lee.
Yes, I'm well. Thanks so much for asking.
Hey, I wanted to get your take on your reasoning for your experience as a youth and now as a young adult, having spent so much time behind bars and having to face the riptides of being away from your family. How do you feel about that?
I feel like there should have been more opportunities for disadvantaged people like myself. I learned behind bars that there's such a thing as the school to prison pipeline, and in America, they have already determined that by the age of 5, their goal is to get most melanated people, melanated children desensitized to being behind bars, so they'll put them in school suspension, detention, um, different things that will just get them used to falling in line and being behind bars. So I think that something for me was that I was destined for prison, according to the school to prison pipeline.
Wow, that's real deep right there. I hadn't even thought about it in that way, but I've done a little research on that myself. And yeah, there's definitely a connection, I believe, especially in the A town, Atlanta, where you see so many young women and men just in and out of prison all the time. You've seen that, right?
Oh yeah, I've seen this the same faces throughout.
Yeah. Yet, Lee, you persevered and now you're able to make a living for yourself. And right now you've been out for what, about 3 years, you said?
Yeah, it's been about 3, going on 4 years.
Wow. And you doing really well as a beautician and a barber for yourself, right?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well, thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. Listen, what would you advise young men and women who are melanated, or even if they're melanin deficient, to do to stay out of the clutches of a system that seemingly sometimes put young people, as you said, at a very young age, getting them ready for what seems to be a lifetime of prison offenses for minor offenses, such as in your case? What's your advice there, Lee?
I would say that it wouldn't be advice for the children, but more so advice for their parents. Stay on your kids. Make sure you know what they're doing when they're doing it. Make sure they're in school. If you can, homeschool them so that you don't have a system that's reprogramming their brain um, and getting them ready for prison. Just make sure that you're in their life. And children need both parents, not just one.
Wow, that's real deep right there. That is a great answer. Well,
Thank you.
Lee, about your life. You have been exposed to repeat sentencing since you were, if I recall correctly, before our interview, since you were 12. And as a melanated female, these occurrences, as you said, were very minor, such as driving just a couple of speed limits over and what they call now driving while black. When you were stopped as a teenager and pulled over for occurrences that you told me you didn't even do, what were you thinking in the back of your head?
I completely feared for my life. I didn't know if that would be my last time living or breathing. I didn't know if I would be going back to prison. I didn't know what was going to happen when I was stopped. But it seems as if they learned who I was and just kept harassing me over time.
Wow, that's real deep. I've heard that before too, really, from a lot of people who've been behind bars multiple times. Well, Lee, how do you believe that America should care about this issue of recidivism ripping through the melanated community and the community of America at large, and about imprisoning young people like yourself, who are later often even found innocent after they're stitched behind bars? What do you think America could do?
I think if America wanted to change, America could have changed. But there's plenty of people that did not commit crimes who are in prison right now, and America is doing nothing about it. I think if America wanted to, they could get some people in there that could go and reopen these cases and take a look at who's innocent or who has been dealt wrong by being sentenced to harsh punishments like 30, 40 years from some marijuana when marijuana is now legal in some states. I think that they could go and really do an overhaul within the prison system. I also think that prisons should not be privately owned. That's part of the problem right there. You have the prison system, the pockets of the owners are being lined by the judicial system.
Mm,
There are judges that are making money off of imprisoning people. It's like an incentive.
mm, mm, mm. Hey, I know exactly what you mean. I read an article about one of the DAs who is deciding to try to go back in time and pay some restitution to some of the people who went to prison for minor offenses that now is legal.
Mm.
That's a great subject to bring up. We'll touch upon that on our next interview. Is that okay?
Oh, we'll have a next one.
I want to talk to you again for sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Lee.
Yeah.
Now, for example, you told me earlier before the interview that one day you were at your aunt's house and a cop came knocking at your door and they arrested you right away. Can you tell our audience a little bit about that? What happened?
Yes, they came knocking on the door. They lined all of us up, including my elderly and disabled aunt, and they put handcuffs on all of us. Come to find out they had the wrong house.
Hmm, so sorry to hear that. Listen, what is your ideal solution to the problem of recidivism when it comes to how police, court systems, and governmental agencies tend to snatch up primarily marginalized citizens for little or no reason, such as in your case, when you and your aunt had this disappointing experience and the police was called for really no reason into the wrong home? What do you think is an ideal solution to stop this and in turn stop young people like yourself from going to prison again and again?
I think one of the things that, in addition to what I mentioned before, one of the things that they're going to have to do is start actually punishing these mini Hitlers for their behavior. There is a way to take someone's shield away permanently to where they cannot get another job in this industry. There's a way you can, whenever someone is getting sued, and law enforcement has to pay out, take it out of the pension of the officers that did the crime, or take away their pension as a whole. A lot of these officers are getting terminated or getting to keep their job and they're getting to keep their benefits. Take that away. They'll think twice before acting crazy and knocking over someone's door and beating up some elderly disabled lady when you got the wrong house.
Mm. Okay, one last question. I really appreciate your meeting with me today. Now, Lee, what do you think is wrong with the alternatives as being a part of this vicious cycle of recidivism? For instance, like you said, the cops and the judges and all the other people who may be a part of such a corrupt system of repeatedly putting practically innocent people in prison, that they could lose everything they have and perhaps they would think twice about it. But what alternatives do you think could be for the young people who are faced with such type of dilemma? What do you think that they could be doing differently, if anything, to stay out of prison?
The young people, I don't really, if they are being falsely accused of things, I don't think that there's anything they can do to go and avoid it. It's more so what the officers and the police system can do. They are bad people. They need to be stopped. And I also think that, there's something called the Big Five. The Big Five is the NAACP, the National Urban League, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, Congress on Racial Equality, which is CORE, and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, SCLC. These are known as the Big Five. Um, they're not even doing anything. I think since they're not doing anything to help protect melanated Americans and also less fortunate people in America, these people, these companies considered the Big Five, they should be stripped of their title and any benefits that they're getting, any grants, donations, anything at all. They should be stripped of that because they're not doing enough.
Wow, that is really a feast to feast on. Lee, I appreciate your sharing all of this great and wonderful information with us today. I wish you the very best to you and your family, and I wish you and your family a Merry, Merry Christmas. You take care and be blessed.
You too. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Bye bye now.